What is up, everybody? This is Rebecca Johnson of Supergirl Radio. We are just getting the live stream started here. I've heard from Morgan. She's having some computer problems. So I am going to vamp until we figure out if she can troubleshoot and correct those. But in the meantime, I can answer any questions, comments, thoughts that people have in the chat. Daryl says, I was wondering when the next episode was. And truthfully, we were too. October was a very busy month for me. And then Morgan got sick. And then Morgan and Mike went to Disney World. So we have had an unintentional hiatus. So thank you all for being very patient with Supergirl Radio as we tried to figure out when we next could podcast. So we are going to be doing, hopefully, a new live stream / episode of the podcast here this week. If Morgan can't get the computer to work, we may have to postpone yet again, but I'm happy to take any questions, comments, thoughts anyone has. So thank you all for hanging out with us for this evening, I guess. So there is a suggestion in the chat from New Rachel for another episode of the podcast if we ran out of ideas for things that we wanted to do. And I guess it looks like Morgan is there. So it looks like you got everything working. Yes?
Yes, I just have to remember how to get to Kindle now. Kindle, my friend. They don't make it easy. Reader.
Also, is appearance in your headline spelled correctly?
Probably not.
You might have been rushing. I don't mean to be spelling police. I'm sorry.
Let's see. Let me make sure.
Since you're here, I'll run an idea from New Rachel by you, and we'll kind of figure out how we maybe could implement this. But New Rachel suggests an idea for a future episode that Supergirl. That we do a Supergirl costume ranking, comparing Kara's costume from the live action show, the animated series, and movies, and all of her comic looks. That's a lot of costumes.
That is a lot of costumes, but I feel like I'm in for this. But just an all boardroom or ballroom episode.
It would be, actually. Because there was an era, I think in the 70s, where they were like, hey, readers, why don't you design a costume for us? And so there were so many.
Is that how we got the headband?
No, that's how we got the weird. I don't know if you remember Margaret, a fan. Her name was Margaret in the comics. And she had this weird costume that didn't even look like a normal human woman could wear it. I'll bring it to the table if we decide we want to do something like this. But that definitely sounds like a fun episode. We would have to do a lot of prep work.
Oh, God, Margaret. I looked her up.
Can you share it?
Yeah, let me
make
see.
sure that we're talking about the same Margaret.
I think, okay, let me.
By the way you laughed about it, it makes me think it is the same.
I think
the same Margaret.
It's hard. It would be hard if it was a different, Margaret. Is this Margaret? This little.
Yes, that's the one. Yes, that is the one.
I wish I could like enhance.
No, I will say I laugh about Margaret's design. But she got it published in a comic book. That's an amazing thing. Good for Margaret.
That is true. I did find an enhance so that we could really enjoy Margaret's look.
Yeah. How does it stay up?
So there's outfits where maybe like dresses where like the sides out, or there's Power Girl with her window. This is like sort of if only the front of your dress was sort of hanging off of your collarbones. I don't really know how this would work in theory. If you began to walk, I feel like things would go astray.
That's a good way to put it.
But it's a very dangerous outfit.
I like the boots, and I think
the boots are great.
The cape is interesting, but it is the only thing holding Margaret's design up. So
Margaret is such a star. I love this outfit. I don't know why it didn't last that long.
It made it in the stories. I mean, Supergirl wore it. So there was an era where they were just taking fan suggestions.
They were like, we're thinking about revamping it. Got any good stuff for us? And Margaret was like, yes.
This is my time.
Actually, yes, I do.
I've been thinking about this for a long time. So maybe someday soon, New Rachel, we could do that. And New Rachel suggests this idea as part of a way to ramp up before the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow movie with Millie Alcock, or maybe if we get a first look at Millie Alcock's Supergirl suit, maybe then we could do kind of a recap of all of Supergirl's different looks.
The many looks of Supergirl. It's like, Margaret's?
It would be disappointing if the next appearance of Supergirl on the big screen was not Margaret's design.
Could you imagine? Millie Alcock is like, oh my God, I have to have so much tape on this thing. I cannot really move.
It's really just her in a mocap suit and everything is CGI because it's the only way that would work.
It's so true.
That's so funny. Let's see. I don't know if there are any other comments on in the chat before we get started here officially. Let's see. Yeah, I guess we could. Daryl, I did reply to your email about this, but Daryl asks, have they left Leviathan behind like they did on the show? What are your thoughts? It does seem like
it's starting to feel that way.
Yeah, Leviathan might not be a story anymore. The frustrating thing about these comics is that they start a story and then it totally shifts into some other like bigger storyline that DC Comics is doing, and then it goes to something else. So it is very frustrating how that happens. And Daryl, if you don't remember me responding, it's because I did it this after like an hour ago, probably. So that's probably why. I think we should get officially started here. We've got a lot to talk about. We've got some news and we have some comic book story to talk about. I have a lot with Supergirl Radio Rebirth. I just have questions. So I don't really have a lot of thoughts. I just have questions, so we can talk about those when we get there. So I suppose if Morgan, if you've got the doc, we can officially get started here.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right.
McGurk! I love typing.
Not mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira. I love that.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom. Because
she looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. So fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Yes! Welcome to Supergirl Radio Rebirth, your source for Supergirl comics that started with DC Rebirth. My name is Rebecca Johnson.
I'm Morgan Glennon.
And for this episode of the podcast, we are live and wired to discuss and review Supergirl 2016 because I guess they thought they were coming back to it. Number 38, which is a story titled I'm the Bad Guy Part 2, written by Jody Hauser with art by Rachel Stott and Inaki Miranda. High Five was the colorist. Tom Napolitano was the letterer. Mike Perkins and Gabe El Taib did the cover. Derek Chu did the variant cover. Brittany Holzer was the editor, and Jamie S. Rich was the group editor. So we are going to be talking about Supergirl number 38. But I guess before we get into talking about that issue of Supergirl, we need to get to
the news.
According to a Deadline.com article, three-body problem actress Eve Ridley has landed the part of Ruthie Mary Knoll in DC Studios and Warner Brothers. Craig Gillespie directed Supergirl. The movie is based off Tom King's 2022 comic book series Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, which Bill Quist Everly illustrated. Anna Noguera adapted the comic
Noguera, maybe.
Noguera, every time. Anna Noguera adapted the comic book for the big screen. In that comic, the bad guy is Krem of the Yellow Hill.
The one hill, according to Deadline, but it is Yellow Hills. Hills. It's
You
Crib
know what?
of the Yellow Hills.
This isn't an adaptation, so maybe there's only one. Maybe they ran out of budget for all those hills and they only got one. He's Creme of the Yellow Hill, as we all know, who kills a young alien girl's father. She draws Supergirl into the conflict. Noel is a noble and honorable warrior who travels across the galaxy with Supergirl to hunt Creme for killing her father in cold blood. Now, I feel like the biggest surprise out of this announcement is that never once was Supergirl referred to as the Angel of the Skies. What's
disappointing.
Deadline?
I feel like if you're going to commit to it, you need to do it.
Where is the Angel of the Skies?
Well, this article was not necessarily about Supergirl specifically, so maybe that's part of it. But yeah, Deadline really wants to make Angel of the Sky happen for Supergirl, and you know what? I give them a lot of Moxie credits for that to make up a nickname for Supergirl and try to make it happen. So Morgan, what do you think about this casting?
I think she looks great. Like, she looks like about the age that the character was in the comics. I've never seen 3 Body Problem, so I can't weigh in on her acting or whether or not I liked her in that. But now I feel like I need to go look that up and watch it just to kind of get a background on her. Like, I watched a little bit of House of the Dragon and then gave up for Millie. Maybe I'll watch a little 3 Body Problem and give up for her.
I have never heard of 3 Body Problem. I don't even really know what it is. So I'm looking up on IMDb. It says a fateful decision made in 1960s China reverberates in the present, where a group of scientists partner with a detective to confront an existential planetary threat. That sounds exciting. It's on Netflix.
Yeah. I saw some buzz about it. I think it's like a sci-fi kind of thing, and people were liking it. And I think other people were confused by it. So I was like, cool. and I was like, maybe I'll watch it. And then I didn't, which is sort of the story of my life with half of the Netflix stuff that comes out that gets buzzy for like 1 week and then just disappears from the consciousness. But now that I have a reason to watch it, now I'm going to put it higher on the list.
It does say on the poster from the creators of Game of Thrones, so I might be out on this one.
Oh boy.
I mean, I don't know if that's a real selling point for me.
Which seasons? The early ones or the later ones?
Also, I just have a bone to pick with Netflix, just real quick. This is off topic, but Cobra Kai, I don't know. You were in Disney World this past week when Cobra Kai, like the second half, the part 2 of the season.
Why do they keep doing that?
Let me just tell you, it didn't finish.
What? There's going to be a third half of the season?
There's a third half with the finale.
Netflix. Either you release them week to week or you release them all at once. We can't be having this. We can't have this. It's too much.
So annoying. We can get to this big world karate tournament and they don't even finish it. I was so mad.
That actually reminds me that I have to catch up with Cobra Kai. I'm like 2 seasons behind.
Oh man, Cobra Kai is the silliest
have there been any more riots in the schools?
No, but there is a riot at a karate tournament. Surprise!
Yes, perfect. That's all I need. I'm diving back in.
That gives you something to look forward to. It is a silly little show, but I love it so much. And also, the last season of Cobra Kai turned into a big promotion for the W hotels, which is hilarious.
What a twist. Did not see that one coming.
I feel like the end of Cobra Kai, we're going to get back to Supergirl in a second, but maybe they had to go on like locations. So I think maybe a location shoot has pushed some of the production back. So I can't give them too much of a hard time, but it is really frustrating. So I don't like what they've done with the Cobra Kai stuff.
They've been doing it with Bridgerton too. They'll release the first half of the season. They'll be like, come back readers for the second half. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then we'll watch the second half and I'll be like, I can't wait for the next season. They'll be like, great. You'll be waiting 2 years. I'm like, I can't deal with these Netflix shows. This is why I never watched a 3 Body Problem.
Did you watch The Crown?
I watched a little bit of it.
Oh my gosh, The Crown is like a top 5 TV show for me. It's so good.
I know everybody tells me it's so good. We watched the first season, we started the second season, and then we just kind of fell off. And I need to jump back in.
You need to get in there. Now you have the benefit. You don't have to wait all that time.
That's true because it's just done.
It's done.
Through.
Yeah, you can just watch it. So all that to say, I could maybe give 3 Body Problem a look-see to see.
It's a Netflix show, so it's probably got like 8 episodes max.
So we'll see. I'll try to do some research on Eve Ridley. I've never seen her in anything, but I do see on her IMDb page she was a voice on Peppa Pig.
Oh, no way.
Wendy Wolf for 1 episode. So that's adorable.
That's very cute.
I've heard that people who watch Peppa Pig end up adopting a British accent.
That is very. I've heard that too. Like the little kids that watch too much Peppa Pig. They're like, Mommy.
So maybe Eve Ridley has contributed to that phenomenon with small children watching Peppa Pig. But I'm excited. This at least the only character that I can think of, like a main character that has not been cast yet, is Comet the Superhorse. We've got everybody else. We've got Supergirl. We've got Creme of the Yellow Hill.
That's true.
And then we've got Ruthie
Just the
now.
one hill.
Just the one hill.
Just the one hill.
No multiple hills. Just
I will say,
Twin Pines, Lone Pines situation.
I looked up the 3 Body Problem TV series Wikipedia page, and Eve Ridley is a recurring character on that page. So I don't know how big of a role she has. The name of her character is Follower.
Oh,
so
is
it
this
doesn't
like a cult situation? That could be way better.
Wait, now you're reeling us in. Oh, there's a cult. Tell me more.
Yeah, so that could be fun to watch. Yeah, I think what I like about this is that they have cast somebody who's relatively unknown, I would say, and she does look the age, and she does look the part. So I'm excited to see what she brings to the table. And I think we did hear that Millie was oh my gosh, why am I blanking? The chemistry reading with actresses who are playing Ruthie, so or auditioning for Ruthie. So that must mean if she won the part, she did a good job with Millie. So I'm excited about that. Mark has a question in the chat that says there have been rumors, and only rumors, that Jason Momoa will appear in Supergirl. Everyone thinks he'll be playing Lobo, but what if he's Comet? What do you think about that casting? Well, I will say, I can't remember when Comet turns back into a man. Is he bare-chested?
You know what? I don't remember.
I'd have to go back and look at that.
Most of my memories are of the horse.
If that's the case, Jason Momoa, I think could pull that off.
I think so too. I mean, he's
got a luxurious mane,
beautiful
like a
hair.
horse.
Beautiful hair. And also he's already played like a man who can communicate with fish.
Yeah. So animal
it's a different maybe now he's coming to land.
I really hope Lobo is not in Supergirl. I'm just gonna flat out say that.
No, I don't want that.
Why? I mean, I guess he could be on one of those alien planets.
Sure, he could make a little appearance.
You know, I bet they could put him in the bar scene at the very beginning of the first issue.
They definitely could do that.
Yeah,
that would work.
I think
it wouldn't annoy me too much.
Yeah, if you were going to put Jason Momoa as Lobo in that movie, he would be in that bar scene where Supergirl is drunk. So I think that could be the case. Rachel asks, does Comet talk? No, I don't think Comet talks in the comic in Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. He just gives a lot of looks. And Ruthie talks to him. She does a lot of talking to him. Okay, I think those are the end of the comments about Ruthie, but very exciting because we now have most of the main cast rounded out. So I think we also learned that Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is going to start shooting in January of 2025. So that's coming up sooner than we think.
It is.
So So maybe we'll hear something more about the adaptation of the comic soon-ish. Okay, well, we also have some news about a former Supergirl that we can cover from the Hollywood Reporter, who published an article about Sasha Kaje's time as Supergirl. And the Hollywood Reporter writes this about her time with the Flash movie. Quote, Sasha Kaje was filled with conflicting emotions in the summer of 2023. On one hand, she was proudly promoting her feature film debut as Kara Zor-el / Supergirl in Andy Muschietti's The Flash. However, she was the only cast member facing the press at the time. As lead actor, Ezra Miller was mired in legal controversy throughout the prolonged lead up to June's release. On top of that, James Gunn and Peter Safran took the reins at DC Studios in October 2022, announcing a new slate of DCU projects in January 2023, with only a select number of connections to the roller coaster ride that was the former DCEU. Only a roller coaster ride, I should say, because of the executives that were in charge at the time. I just want to point that out. The Hollywood Reporter goes on to say, thus, Kaje's future as the Kryptonian was in doubt before it even had a chance to lift off screen. So, Kaje had to sidestep questions about Miller, often pivoting to how much she genuinely revered her stunt team, while also expressing optimism at the future, even if she could sense that the writing was on the wall. If that wasn't enough to shoulder, she lost her voice in the midst of it all. It was very hard, I have to say. I had bitter, sweet feelings as I was maneuvering everything, Kaje tells The Hollywood Reporter. I was very excited, but there were a lot of unanswered questions for me, so it was very bittersweet. There were still plenty of silver linings that emerged, namely a close friendship with Leslie Grace, whose own DC tenure as Batgirl was abruptly cut short in August 2022 when the unfinished Batgirl was shelved for a tax break. The two performers, who once had dreams of meeting each other on screen as their respective superhero characters, ultimately served as support systems for one another. I don't know what I would have done without Leslie, to be honest with you. I feel like she got it even worse, and yet she was just this divine light of love and warmth, Kaje says. And even though it came from a really confusing and painful situation, we got to have this beautiful friendship that is true and honest and sincere and kind. We were there for each other, and I am really happy that we had each other then. Now that DC Studios has gone in another direction for the future of Supergirl, Kaje admits that there is some frustration since she originally shot an ending of The Flash that was supposed to pave the way for future adventures as part of her multi-film contract. But between the praise she's received from critics and audiences, as well as new roles like her current one alongside Ben Affleck and Matt Damon and Joe Carnahan's R.I.P., she's proud that she made the most of her moment, no matter how fleeting it was. It was very heartbreaking for me, and it was very confusing. Ultimately, I know that I did my best, Kaje shares. It's been said that a queer Latina girl like me couldn't be Supergirl, but I was, and no one can take that away from me. This is the most important thing. I did something that mattered. And whether you saw yourself represented in me or not, a lot of people really connected with her and loved her, unquote. So, Morgan, I guess the interesting thing about this for me is that it says that she had a multi-film contract deal, which I guess we kind of knew because she was supposed to be the new part of like the new trio or the new Trinity in that version of the DCEU alongside Batgirl. So I guess that would have meant that she would have made more films, maybe with a Batgirl situation.
Yeah, it sounds like, based on reading that, I read the whole article and it was a lot about her other movie where I was like, oh, now I feel like I want to look this one up. So good job on that. But they also mentioned that the ending of the Flash movie was changed because in the original version of the ending, she was going to like show back up again, which would have been great. But no, we just got to watch her die a lot. But I guess it's not surprising that they had like a deal in place for her, that there maybe would have been, I don't know, some projects she would have shown up in, or maybe she would have gotten her own Supergirl movie. I do feel really bad for the actress because she really did, through no fault of her own, get just like caught up in the shuffling deck the DC movie projects where they were like, okay, what if we did this? What if we did this? What if we did this?
So indecisive over there at Warner Brothers.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm the actors who are in the current slate, I'm probably a little stressed about it, to be honest. They haven't historically committed to a specific thing, and it does feel like, if one or two of these James Gunn projects don't work out, they could panic again and be like, never mind. But we're
not
getting
until
Supergirl,
after
but
2026.
not until after 2026. This is why I'm actually really happy that Supergirl is the second one up, because I think if it was like the fourth or fifth project, there's a good chance we would never see it. But the second one, I feel like they'll be like, okay, we'll give
give it a chance.
Give him one, we'll give him another one. Maybe around the third one is where maybe things will get a little dicey. But no, we're gonna see Supergirl. But I do feel bad because I'm sure Sasha came in being really excited, being like, yay, like this is gonna be great. Like, my friend's back, my new friend is Batgirl, we're gonna have all these adventures. And they're like, wait, what happened to my new friend's movie? And then I have to do all the press. Why is that? Kidnapping, you said?
I was only in it for a short amount of time and I just died a lot. What am I going to talk about?
I'm sorry, what did our lead do? What do you mean, kind of a cult? So I do feel
allegedly.
We don't know anything. But yeah. So yeah, it does feel I feel really bad for her on like multiple levels, but especially as they point out in the article, like once Ezra Miller became unable to do press, let's put it that way, they basically just shoved her at all the press appearances. So like at the same time that all that's happening, is when the DCEU started like fully just like falling apart and they started remaking it. And so she must have kind of felt like the writing was on the wall about how much longer she'd be Supergirl, while having to promote this movie and be like, no, Will Smith says, or Tom Cruise says it's the best movie of all time.
Jaden Smith.
I'm sorry, I got the wrong Smith who was hyped about it. Did you hear what Jaden
it changed
said?
his life.
It did change. Jaden's hasn't been the same since The Flash. Have any of us really?
Yeah, well, I guess we should point out that Sacha Kadje did not have to promote it alone. There were glowing reviews.
That's true.
I think even Stephen King like chimed in one time and was like, this is changing superhero movies forever.
Everything has changed. And honestly, it did right after that movie.
It did change.
Maybe they were onto something is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, feel bad for her, but it sounds like she's in a couple of good projects, so I'm sure she'll, this is not, unfortunately, the reason we're always so paranoid about this upcoming Supergirl movie is that they have this tendency with especially like big properties to like announce that they're going to do a bunch of movies, and then suddenly the movies start just like mysteriously disappearing off the slate sometimes. I saw somebody in the chat said, Mind the Gap said, like, now even Disney announces Star Wars and Marvel movies that don't even come out. I just saw a headline the other day that they had announced some Star Wars movie for 2026, and now it's like gone. So it's sort of the nature of the beast. It stinks, but we are getting Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. They're casting people, so I feel pretty confident.
Yeah, and Mind the Gap says, well, wouldn't Supergirl be the third because of Creature Commandos? And I say, number one, we're talking movies here.
That's true, yeah.
Number two, Creature Commandos, are we really? I mean, I guess some people are gonna watch it, but like I don't have an interest in it. But
just to see it, because I'm like, why not? But it's gonna have to kind of work to keep my interest. As we know, I'm notorious at watching like 2 episodes of something and never any additional. So
I suppose we could do a pilot pod for Patreon.
We could do a pilot pod,
but it's like, do I watch Creature Commandos or do I spend the valuable margin of my life rewatching Veronica Mars.
I mean, I'm not gonna fight you on that.
What
decision.
am I doing? What am I gonna do? So I do have those quandaries for me. But I will say that I wasn't wowed by Sasha Cache's Supergirl, but I will still respect the fact that she put on the S and she represented Supergirl for a time. And that includes her into Kara Zor-El's mythology, the angel of the skies mythology, and the history of the character. And so I think that is something to be valued and appreciated. And so even if I don't particularly, love that version of Supergirl, because she was, in my opinion, she was female Superman, even though I fought people verbally who said that she was just female Superman. So it was a little disappointing for me personally. But I think, she's part of that elite group of ladies who has put on the suit and represented the Girl of Steel. So I just want to remember her in that time. So even if the Flash movie wasn't great, it did see a return to Supergirl to the big screen in like 40 years. So that is something to be appreciative of.
That's true. I mean, if Supergirl wasn't such a big part of the Flash movie, I guess you could maybe wonder like if she would be getting her own spinoff right now. Like, she was kind of out there in the conversation when it comes to DC characters that had a spotlight on them in a really long time. So, I mean, I think that Sasha's role in the universe might be bigger than even she knew, because maybe that had the new studio people looking at like, oh, maybe Supergirl.
Yeah, I don't love the idea that she was going to replace Henry Cavill's Superman, because I love it. I love his.
It's also a weird decision. It's like we can only have one super person at a time.
I love Henry Cavill's Superman so much. I don't love that they use Supergirl to try and do that. But I think if they had continued on with that version of Supergirl in her own story, that could have made her unique. It could have made her stand out. It could have made her more Supergirl-ish. So that is disappointing that, for the reason that she didn't carry on, that we didn't get to see a more Supergirl-centric version of her. But she is kind of a major character in The Flash in that she changes things. The reason that she dies is essentially the reason that Barry keeps going back in time to try to save her, and that ends up creating what was the villain's name? Like Dark Flash, I think. The spiky version of the Flash. So I mean, she did play a pretty pivotal role in that movie and that story.
That's true.
So there is that. Well, that is all the news that we have for this episode of Supergirl Radio. So let's get into the discussion of Supergirl number 38. And the description for this issue reads, quote, after Batman and Superman couldn't stop the infected Supergirl from trying to, and this is what the official description says, to the entire world, which doesn't make any sense to me. I think maybe they were trying to say from trying to infect the entire world, but someone did not proofread this description. I checked it on several major sources like Comixology.com and DCComics.com, and they all had this weird typo. So I just want to mention that we did not get this wrong. It is typed out incorrectly. So continuing on, it says, they knew they had to call in the only person they trust can bring Kara back. Wonder Woman. Will Diana's compassion be enough to cure Kara of the infection that's taken over? If not, what's a good fight? What's a fight between an uninhibited Kryptonian powerhouse against a godlike? Nobody was proofreading this description. I caught the first one, but I didn't catch the second one until I was reading.
Against the godlike what? A person? Just...
So someone was really checked out when they were writing this description.
This is not Veronica. Let's just put this
Veronica
out there.
would have made this make sense.
Veronica would have put in a little tidbit about something that didn't even happen in the issue.
She would have, and she would have made it real flowery too. And then it ends with, "You'll find out here," unquote. So this is the issue that we are going to be talking about. And I guess like a lot of these rebirth issues, I'm just sort of bringing questions to the table, because most of the issue I was just like, okay, all right.
Interesting.
So I guess the first question that I have for you, Morgan, is the idea that she goes, so Supergirl's infected and she is working on like a personal project. She's in, I guess, some sort of new phone tower is what it says. She's in there working on something. She's tinkering with something. And I think it has something to do with like they were trying to create this infection that would be dispersed out to infect the entire world with this like man who laughs infection, get everybody I guess trying to live their best lives. And so she's kind of in there working on her own little personal project, and then she decides to take it out into the public. So she goes to the Smallville Public Library, and she has an interaction with a group of school children. And I was curious, Morgan, what you thought about this plan of hers. I guess she wants to invite them to be infected with her because she thinks this is such a good idea. What do you think the reality of this situation is?
Yeah, it was a little weird. It was like I was having a hard time following. I guess maybe she's not thinking so logically right now. And so the comic sort of mirrors that, because I was like, wait a minute, if she's already rigging up this tower, why is she visiting the school? And I don't know. I don't know. I guess she just is. So she kind of goes to the school and she's like, I want to give you guys the freedom of this, this laugh infection thing that I have. And Crypto's like, I don't know why I came on this trip with her.
That was another question I have for you, is why do you think Crypto goes? Because he goes with her, and then I guess he's like a therapy pet.
Yeah, the thing is, like, Crypto is just he's a loyal boy. He loves Kara, and he's like, Kara's really going through something. And I guess I kind of have to be there for her. But then when she starts terrorizing a class full of children, Crypto's like, I guess pet me and you'll feel better. Crypto is my favorite character in this issue. Even though his motivations don't make 100% sense to me, but it's like, I just like that he's sort of around. And then presumably she gets mad because somebody takes a cell phone video of her, even though one would think that would like make her message go farther and wider, which is seemingly what she wanted. I don't really know what's going on with Supergirl's just going through a lot in this one, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that she did not anticipate that people would record her.
Like, she's been living on Earth for quite a while. It's like she's almost she's like, I don't know, why would these people do this? It's like, you live on Earth though. You know what humans are like. This isn't news to you. I don't know. The whole thing was a little bit strange. She was like, you recorded me? It's like, yeah, you're talking to teens. That's all they do.
And also, I wonder what the nightly news was like that night. How did that report go? It probably was not great. They don't show the reaction from the broader public community, except for the classroom or the library full of kids. But I can imagine. Well, I guess we do get I think later on. Is it after that where we do get a reaction from
there's
a crowd
of people? Well, what was unclear to me is that just trying to follow her timeline in this issue, she starts out in this like control tower hooking something up. Then Crypto's like, ruh-roh, and she's like, oh, off I go to Smallville. I'm gonna give them the good news of the laugh infection. And then she like goes into the public library, tells like kind of gives a crazy speech, and then in like the next panel she's back in the tower. So I was like, why stop at the library?
I actually had a question about that too, because I wondered, did she just give up? Like she made she made the speech, they recorded it, and they were all like,
They didn't
"Nah,
seem-
we passed."
They
Like,
didn't seem into it, so she just kind of like, well, all right, fine.
fine, I'll
I thought
leave.
you guys were going to be really feeling it. But I guess if you're not, I'll just go back to work, making it against your will. Yeah, it was very strange. Yeah, she shows up at the library, and on like the next page, she's back in the tower, like hooking things up in Smallville. And then she like hears people outside being like, I don't really like that lady. And she's like, excuse me? And I was like, I don't really Kara, what do you think is happening here?
She thinks everything she is doing is perfectly fine. Yeah, somebody calls her alien trash, which I thought was way harsh.
I mean, not nice, although she did really ruin their public library. They're
Shit,
going to have
and-
to re-roof that thing.
Yeah, that. Hopefully Superman can help them rebuild that very quickly. But well, some of the critiques I think were fair. Maybe Monster and Invader are a little harsh, but somebody says wants to hurt our children. I mean, you could make a case for that. She busted in through the ceiling of the library.
She did go straight into like the young adult section of the library and be like, children, I have good news. And they're like, no, lady, I think maybe let us do our research projects in peace.
Yeah, she does say as she leaves the library, I can't believe they hid their own children away, stuffed them full of comforting lies. So, yeah, I guess they were just like, you need to go. You need to leave here. Go away.
I do like the idea that like after that one panel where she's giving her unhinged speech, like the librarian maybe came up to her and was like, I'm so sorry. This is actually quiet hours.
You need to bring it down.
The level in here is here and it needs to be here. Some of us are working. And then Kara was just like, oh, I'm so sorry. And then like goes, like evil Kara is like, oops. And then she just goes back to her tower and she's like, they were really mean to me. I'm enjoying this section of the book just because Kara is like not a good villain.
That's true.
And she's like just really beefing it at being evil. She was just like, ugh. And then they yelled at me in the library and it kind of hurt my feelings. I was giving a good speech. I get these all the time and they usually work.
She did mention hope at one point.
She did.
Which I thought was very on brand for Kara. Where does she say
evil hope
that?
speech?
Where is that? I thought she did it with the school children. Or maybe it was when, so there's at one point she encounters the rest of the public and almost actually, let's see. Yeah, maybe it is.
I think it's after the kids.
Yeah, it may be when she is about to inject that one random person. Yeah, so she grabs the one person she wants to make an example of to infect them, to show them what they could have and what their the results of that would be. And she asks, "Is hope really such a is hope really so hard a concept for you to grasp?" So she's still thinking about hope, even though she's being real scary about it.
And she's like, I truly don't understand. These speeches always work. It's actually usually better when they're recorded. I don't
actually, yes.
I don't know why people aren't on my side. This is so strange.
Well, at least with the infected Supergirl, when she's on camera being recorded, she doesn't look exactly like a Kara Danvers or a
true.
A Kara would without that. So she is somewhat secret identity
a little bit less recognizable. I do think it's really funny that like there's a little interlude with like Batman and Superman where Superman is just holding something giant on top of his head. We're just never given any context to what that is.
He's bringing something back in.
He's just bringing something down. Like it doesn't.
Or no, it's the Fortress of Solitude.
Yeah, it's the Fortress of Solitude. He's got like a giant, like what looks like a giant piece of a spaceship or something. Who knows what it is because nobody ever mentions it. He just like kind of puts it down and then they have a conversation. And I was just like, oh, we're not going to go back to that? What that was?
I wonder if that has something to do with, and this made me laugh because of our previous conversations. There is a panel with infected Supergirl with Crypto right before the panel where Hawkman has Superman in a headlock.
Yes.
And there's an editor's note from Brittany that says, "See Batman Superman." Not even an issue, just see the whole title.
Just see it. Just see it. Well, it's funny because as we've
Maybe the answer's there.
As we've well established on this run, I am reading the collected trade. Rebecca is just reading the single issues. I'm going to tell you that that editor's note was not in the collected trade.
Really? In that panel right before the Hawkman?
No.
Superman? The goldish panel?
Yeah, it was not in the goldish panel. It was not in the panel before the goldish panel. In fact, I did quite feel like I was missing something that maybe would have been in a different title. Perhaps Batman Superman. But I didn't know what it was, and I was never given any direction to find out more.
Let's see. Yeah, so it is.
Yes, see, that does not appear in my version. Amazingly enough.
So you don't see that.
No,
that is really interesting.
It's not in my version. In fact, I'm gonna override yours really quickly.
Okay, all right.
This is what mine looks like. Hold on. This is what this panel looks like for me.
It doesn't have the make it go full screen. We can't see the bottom part of it.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Oh,
I think it. There we go.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that editor's
Doesn't
note.
have it. It's crazy.
Well, then how are you ever going to know? You don't even know to go to the title.
I don't even know.
I don't know what issue, but yeah, we don't know what issue, but you don't even know which comic book title to go to.
I don't even know where I could find more information about this. And this is the second time during this run that we've had this situation where you're like, oh, the editor's note told me to go to, something number 5. And I was like, what editor's note?
Wait, this happened before?
Yeah, there was another issue. I feel like it was like the one before or one before that where you had an editor's note and I didn't. And I was like, huh? But then earlier in the run, I had a whole issue that you didn't have. So
Right.
I don't know.
That's so inconsistent. I wonder if they're just adding it after the fact.
Maybe. Yeah.
And then they don't remember that they needed to do it for the trade too.
Yeah, that's possible. Or maybe they like when they're putting it together for the trade, they're like, it's actually not that important to know. They just take it out. I don't.
Maybe
a lot of questions about how these come together.
We do miss some context about what Superman is doing with whatever that spaceship material is. It should also be pointed out in this conversation between Superman and Batman that Batman really disrespects Crypto here. He just says
he does.
He just says, it looks like your pet found her. Doesn't even name Crypto.
I like that Superman's like, he has a name. I was like, yes, thank you. I'm sick of Batman's attitude here.
Put some respect on Crypto's name.
How dare you treat Crypto that way?
And then once Superman does stand up for Crypto, he says, fine. According to the tracker readings, Crypto has located Kara, and Crypto is like bolded and emphasized there.
He's
so
like,
Batman
my dog knows what's going on.
So Batman does eventually like talk about him as if he has a name and it should be respected. So the big plan, I guess, that Batman and Superman have, this maybe is a good segue to talk about this, is they need somebody to, I guess they feel like maybe they have not had good, successful interactions with infected Supergirl, because both Superman and Batman have tried to talk sense into her, but they're kind of striking out. So their big plan is that they need to find someone powerful enough to keep her contained and someone they can trust. So what do you think about who they call in to do that?
I mean, Wonder Woman's a pretty good one. There's probably not that many characters that you could really call in to try to contain Supergirl, to be honest. That's not Superman. So Wonder Woman seems like one of the more powerful people you could call. Like, what are you gonna? You can't really throw Batman at this situation, uh, or any of his Robins or anything like that. So yeah, I thought that the idea of sending a Wonder Woman in was a pretty fun one.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense, and they definitely have a fight. Wonder Woman can't just really talk her out of it, but she does think that the real Kara is in there, and this is the first time that we have something of a breakthrough for infected Supergirl. So I guess the way I read it, Morgan, and you can correct me if you think that it was read a different way by you, but it seemed like the lasso of truth that she uses on infected Supergirl is what brings her real Kara-ness out. Is that how you read that?
That's how I read it too.
Okay. So I don't know if that's a long-term solution because she can't just have infected Supergirl wear the lasso of truth. I mean, I guess
No.
she could. She could just like tie it around her and never take it off. But
then,
that
like, what
seems
if
like
he needs to use it again?
yeah. So I don't think it's a real long-term solution, but it does seem to make a difference. I guess that makes sense that her real Kara inside of her, she has to be compelled to tell the truth. So that real version of herself would pop out in that moment. But what did you think about that?
Yeah, I thought that was clever, that the idea of using the lasso of truth in that way to kind of like try to get the real Kara out of infected Supergirl. And I like that we got like a fun fight scene where like Wonder Woman's like trying to like get through to her, and obviously infected Kara's like, yeah, I think you got me. And then they start fighting. I'm interested to see where it goes in the next issue, because it does seem like she's getting that the lasso is working in some way, although it hasn't completely undone her makeover, so I don't know what that means. It's just kind of gotten rid of her kiss makeup. I don't.
That is interesting that the kiss makeup did go away.
It did.
Her hairstyle, I think, is very similar, and her suit is pretty much the same, but the kiss makeup went away.
But the kiss makeup is gone. So I was like, what does that mean? Does that mean that she's coming back, or
maybe it's little by little, like
Ah.
her kiss makeup goes away, and then whatever like the next step is, like her hair goes back to normal, and then the next step, like maybe the final step, is like her suit becomes the Supergirl suit again.
Ooh.
I don't know.
I could see that.
So that's a good catch. I did not realize that. Although she still has the painted fingernails.
That's true.
So it still looks like infected Kara fingernails, maybe.
Yeah, and like, yeah, the suit is still the same with all of its like little spiky things. So it's like, is she sort of semi healed? Is she's gonna be like a little bit crazy, but not entirely? I don't know. I'm interested to see where they go, like what direction they go on with this now.
Yeah, because we are not finished with infected Supergirl. I don't know if this is temporary or this actually, takes her out of this infection. So we'll see what happens with Wonder Woman and Supergirl in the next one, hopefully. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about that we didn't mention?
I think we got a lot of this issue. It seems like what is motivating infected Supergirl is like trauma. She's like, I've watched my planet get destroyed, and I'm going to fix your planet so it doesn't happen to you guys.
And she said this to a room full of children.
And the children are like, what? She's like, everyone you love will die, Susie. And Crypto's like, Susie, it's okay. And Supergirl's like, Susie, it's not okay. You're all hurtling towards the destruction. And like, I don't follow her plan, because she's like, I'm going to infect everyone and that's going to fix it. How? Kara, how?
Well, I think she thinks, as infected Supergirl, she's liberated. She's free. She can really just feel what she feels and do what she does and have no worries about anything. And she wants everybody else to be that same way. But it is weird that she does bring up her past, where she talks about how she basically watched everyone and everything she loved die. And she even says, I've already seen one world burn. And she tells that to the children, which seems traumatic, I would imagine, for these little kids. Like,
they seem like they're all different ages, but there are definitely some small children in there that are like, what?
yeah, and they take cover too, which I think is interesting. The teacher like steps in, or I guess the librarian, whoever it is, like gets in front of them and shields the rest of these kids like behind her, and the kids get under the table. So they really see her as this huge physical menacing terror threat. I mean, they have her like she's up on the table and they're on the floor trying to take cover under these tables. So I don't I don't fully think that Infected Supergirl understands how this is coming across to other people.
Yeah, I don't think that she's like really selling it the way she wants to be selling it, or even explaining at all how these two things are like connected. She's like, I'm gonna infect you all and it's gonna save your planet. It's like, okay, there feel like there should be a bridge in between those two concepts, Kara.
Yeah, how is this going to be beneficial to them? Because I don't think that they're really buying that this is something good for them. But at least Wonder Woman has the good sense to understand that this is not the way to go about it, and she steps in. And I actually like the moment. I thought it was a good bit of tension in the comic that Supergirl has this one random person that she's about to inject with whatever thing that she's been tinkering on. And right as Supergirl's going to do it, Wonder Woman springs into action and saves that person. So I did enjoy that bit of heroics in the issue. Well, I guess in terms of the art, did anything stand out for you in this one?
Obviously, I liked my boy Crypto popping back up. I thought that the beginning of this issue, where Crypto, just like sort of a day in the life of Crypto as he tries to find Kara, and you see him sniffing things, and he's like, garbage, and then he's like, no, Crypto, focus, and then he finds Kara using only smells. I thought that was a great page. That was probably my favorite page of the issue. It reminded me of a run I like on the Hawkeye in from over in Marvel, where Hawkeye had a dog, and he was like his nickname was like Pizza Dog, and there was a whole issue that was just Pizza Dog like investigating a crime, and it was like silent, and it was just like him sniffing things and be like, and it was like I would for sure be excited about a whole issue of just Crypto like doing like solving crimes.
Why doesn't Crypto have his own comic book title?
Crypto should have his own. I would read Crypto so hard, like just Crypto going around doing that. Like,
he's very confused in a lot of these panels. He's like,
he is not understanding what's going on. He's like, "Where's my buddy? So, Kara? What look is that?"
So there is something that's kind of interesting about that interaction between Infected Supergirl and Crypto. Is that in one of the panels he is excitedly jumping on her and barking. And she says, ugh, gross. I get it. You're glad to see me. And it's almost like she does have something of a normal interaction with Crypto. That it's not necessarily as probably friendly as it typically probably would be, but she's at least acknowledging that Crypto is happy to see her, and it feels almost like a normal Supergirl Crypto interaction, but it's so different. So that to me was the first time I was like, is she kind of like still in there? But and then by the end of the issue, like, yeah, she definitely is, because the Lasso of Truth really brought it out of her.
Yeah, I like that what they've been playing with in this like infected run is that because she got like an infected bullet essentially for somebody else. The infection hasn't like fully taken for her, so she's still infected, but she's like, I'm gonna fix things.
I'm gonna
justice.
save people. I'm gonna be a hero.
Why are the people crying? Why are the children scared? She's like, oh, crypto, oh, get away from me. But also, good boy. But also, we're bad. Remember, we're bad. I just think it's fun. This show, because she wasn't like infected properly, I guess she's like not necessarily entirely she's not a good villain. She's like a bad villain in that she's bad.
Yeah, she's bad at being a villain.
Like, I'm trying this villainy thing and I'm doing a great job, and everyone's like, no, you're not.
You're scaring people, but you're not doing like a villain thing.
Not like purposefully, girl.
Yeah, my favorite bit of the art in this issue is actually the last page when Supergirl does have the interaction with the lasso of truth. Just the way that the 2 panels at the top started that process where you see the infected Supergirl, like the close-up of her face, and you see the light of the lasso. And as soon as the lasso hits her, the kiss makeup goes away from her face, and then that last panel is a lot of more of that lasso of truth light that really shows that things have started to change for her. So I think the combination of all the 3 panels on that page, especially if you go through the guided view on the digital side, it's almost like a storyboard to me. And so it's almost like watching a movie in some ways to see that reveal happen. So I really, really liked that last page.
Yeah, I thought the last page was really well done too, and it made me interested in like what was going to happen next in the storyline, which I think is like obviously very important for like a serialized story, like to end off on like a cliffhanger of like,
Yeah, definitely a good cliffhanger. So we'll have to see in Supergirl 39, and I think we only have a handful of these left. So hopefully,
yeah, I think it ends at like 42 or something.
Hopefully this wraps up in some kind of a way. Hopefully we'll see her come out of it before this run on the character ends. But that is where we will leave Supergirl. She is maybe coming back to her real self. Well, that I think is going to wrap up our thoughts on Supergirl number 38. If you haven't bought it yet, this issue is available in the DC Comics app, Comixology, Google Play, readdcentertainment.com. And you can probably find it in your local comic book shop if you would like to do so. And I think that's also going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio. If you'd also like to contact us, you can post a comment on our website at supergirlradio.com. You can email us at supergirlradio@gmail.com. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on X and Instagram, all at Supergirl Radio. If you like what we do, we encourage you to give us a rating and write us a review on Apple Podcasts. We are also part of the DC TV Podcast and Multiverse of Color Network, so please go check those out. And you can hang out with us as we go live and wired on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern on the DC TV Podcast YouTube channel. And DC TV Podcast also has a TeePublic store. So if you're in need of new DC or DC TV or Supergirl related t-shirts, or even Wonder Woman related t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, magnets, tote bags, pins, phone cases, pillows, or stickers, go to supergirlradio.com and click on the TeePublic store link at the top of the page.
And speaking of Wonder Woman, since Supergirl 38 featured Wonder Woman fighting Supergirl, we have some Wonder Woman related designs in the DC TV Podcast TeePublic store that we'd love to suggest.
If you like Wonder Woman, shields, lassos, swords, we've got those. So you can get those on t-shirts, mugs, even hats. They're now offering hats. TeePublic has those designs on baseball caps, which is pretty fun. I may try one of those out to see what design works better on a hat. So you can get those now. So very exciting stuff going on TeePublic. They're improving things and introducing new products. So that's very cool.
Exciting.
We also would like to thank our legion of super sponsors for supporting the Supergirl Radio Patreon. These people are Michael, Anne Marie, Yvonne, Nicola, Abby, Miriam, Nicole, Brian, Ethan, Danny, Majuba, Zachary, Annie, And Rachel, if you would like to become a Legion of Super sponsor, visit patreon.com/Supergirl Radio. And I think I'm supposed to talk about me now. You can find me on Instagram at the Derby Kid. I'm also on the social media platform Vero. I'm over there at Derby Kid, where I share things I'm listening to, or reading, or movies or TV shows I'm watching. So if you want to go check me out over there, I just kind of share what I'm interested in at the moment. I also have a YouTube channel that you can check out at youtube.com/duckmilkprod. I haven't updated any new content yet, but I do have some plans to interview some more DC EU fans to talk about the Snyderverse. So some of that will be coming in the next couple of months, but I've got some stuff over there if you want to check it out.
Nice. And you can find me on the internet at Mojotastic on Instagram. And you can also find me as a co-host on the Legendary Ladies podcast, where I believe this week we're going to be talking about a movie that came out called My Old Ass, I believe it's called.
Oh, is that the one with the chick from Parks and Rec?
Yeah.
Aubrey Plaza.
Aubrey Plaza. Yeah. It
Yeah.
came out this year, and I actually haven't seen it yet. So we're going to be talking about that this week. So you can check us out over there. We also recently did an episode about the rebooted Wizards of Waverly Place, which I wasn't on, but also I've never watched that show, so I have no recollection about it. And if you want to see pictures from my trip to Disney World, you can check those out over on Instagram. I got to meet Figment.
I'm
and
so
dance with him. It
jealous.
was kind of a big deal.
I'm so jealous. I do think the character Figment, he's a little long in the neck.
He's a little long in the neck. Yeah,
but
I agree.
It's still great that there's an actual Figment character that you can meet.
I was excited. So what happened was the ride went down, and I was like, the ride being down cannot stop me from going into the store and buying the merch.
Was there Figment merch?
There was Figment merch. So
fantastic.
We went into the store, and I'm like looking at all the Figment merch, and then suddenly I heard like Figment's coming out, and we were the only people in the store because the ride was down. So we walked in, we were like, wait, is Figment like really coming out? And Mike was like, Figment is her favorite. And they were like, well, watch and wait. And so I got like a little video of like Figment like coming out of the tunnel. Like he was like he was like a superstar. He was like, whoa, just us. And we were like, yeah. And then we like went right up and got pictures with him. And while I was getting a picture, he started like doing a dance. So I started like dancing with Figment. So I got to have some one-on-one time with Figment, which was great.
So jealous.
So there was a silver
lining. I'm excited for you
getting to go on the ride, which is I got to meet the man himself.
That's way better, honestly. That's incredible. So yeah, definitely go check out Morgan's fantastic Disney World stuff. And maybe if you've got a few moments, we can maybe talk about that for Patreon.
Sure.
So yeah, we will be maybe catching up on Morgan's vacation activities for the Supergirl Radio Patreon if you would like to join us over there. Well, I think that is going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio. But until next time, I'm still Rebecca Johnson.
And I'm still Morgan Glennon. And thanks for joining us as we catch up on Supergirl comics.
McGurk! I love typing.
Not mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira. I love that.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom, because
she looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. So fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Yeah!